So here we are. We are going to talk about the threat intelligence. Before that, let me just give a quick idea about InfosecTrain. We were established in 2016. We are one of the finest security and technology training and consulting company. Wide range of professional training programs, certification, and consulting services in the IT and cybersecurity domain, and high quality technical services, certification, or customized training programs curated with professionals of over 15 years of combined experience in the domain. So yes, the trainers, they have the experience in different domains, and the training can be curated, or it can be made as per the requirements as well, right? The endorsement, trusted clients, InfoSec train, certified experienced instructors, flexible modes of training, access to the recorded sessions, post-training completion support, and tailor-made training as well. So as I mentioned, custom training can be made like as per your requirement. Talking about CTIA, right? Talking about the CTIA, if we talk about CTIA, other thing which you're going to talk about is regarding threat intelligence. Okay, so there's a certificate from EC Council. I guess you guys might have heard about EC Council, right? So EC Council is a pretty good vendor. Okay, so um, yeah, so CTIA is a certificate from EC Council which is regarding the threat intelligence. Okay, it's regarding the threat intelligence. So CTIA is Certified Threat Intelligence Analyst. Okay. Regarding the details, if we talk about regarding CTIA, in terms of training duration, it's 24 hours. Okay. Modules which you will encounter in this particular certificate are your 5 modules, like introduction to threat intelligence, cyber threats and kill chain methodology, requirements, planning, direction, review, data collection, processing, analysis, intelligence reporting, and dissemination. These are the things which are there in terms of 5 modules. Okay. And if you talk about the examination perspective, 50 questions will be there. Okay. 50 questions are going to be there, which will be, guys, of MCQs, and the time duration will be of 2 hours. Okay. Time duration is 2 hours, and 50 questions will be there. Everything will be MCQ. It won't be practical. It's totally theoretical based. Quick brief in terms of CTIA. All right. So I'll give a quick idea about CTIA to you guys, what CTIA is. So we'll talk about some, couple of things in terms of CTIA or the threat intelligence. Okay. So actually what threat intelligence is, so if I have to ask you guys, what do you think threat intelligence is? See, as also mentioned over here, information an organization uses to understand the risks that have targeted, will target, or are currently attacking them. We can say that's your, you know, uh, threat intelligence, isn't it? See, so when I'm talking about cyber threat intelligence, correct? So they are something which is used by the organization in order to protect themselves from any kind of an attack which will be happening, or which is happening, or which may, happen. So as you mentioned, collection and analysis of information about any threat, right, or any adversary, the one who is performing that threat, right, the threat actor, and then we draw the patterns, we try to learn about them, right, and then we provide the uh, decision, or you can say knowledgeable decisions, so that we can be prepared, we can prevent ourselves, and we can also respond uh, against those cyber attacks, right? So this threat intelligence, basically they help the organization, in order to identify and mitigate the various business risk by, you can say, converting those unknown threats into known threats, right? Unknown as in we do not have any idea about them, and then we make it known threats as in we gather the intel about them and we get to know about them, and then we can prevent ourselves from those threats. Make sense? Kind of a more of a proactive approach also can be there, isn't it? Right. So when we are talking about intelligence, we have these 3 things I have written: data, information, and intelligence. Correct. So anyone who can tell me what is the difference between data, information, and intelligence? Intelligence is actionable, data is raw, information is interpreted from data, and intelligence is prediction. Okay. Okay. Nice. So these are just the date, right? We are not getting any sort of a context out of it. Agree? It's in a raw form, right? It's in a raw form. So when we say in terms of a raw form, it is your data, as in no context, right? So data, it's in its raw form, generally which exists in a huge volume. Okay, so that's your data, which is unprocessed. There is no context in it. Okay, unprocessed and no context. So once you process this particular data, okay, once you process this particular data, it gives you some contextual or meaningful information, right? It tends to give you the contextual or meaningful information. So data which is processed gives you information. So for example, if I process this, I will get to know, okay, uh, kind of a second week of March, second week, month of March, year 2023, and this is your Monday, this is your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Correct. So I have processed it and I got some context out of it. Now, guys, what will be your intelligence? Intelligence will be which is obtained by processing the data and and analyzing your information. So you can say I got to know that okay, this is a weekend over here, and this is a, you can say, maybe Good Friday or something, which is also a leave, basically a holiday. Now, as per this, what can be done? You can make some decisions. You can take some decisions, or you can do or perform some actions out of it. Getting my point, right? So now you can plan a holiday or a weekend or a trip with your family, or you can perform your pending task on that day, or whatever you want. You can perform some decisions, or you can make some decisions on it. So that is what your intelligence is over there. That will be in a layman language if you talk about it in terms of technical example, if you want. Okay. So consider a remote host is there. Okay, remote host is there, which is doing what? Which is communicating with a server. Okay, guys, remote host is there, which is communicating with a server. Here the data is what? Here the data will be what? Data will be the connection request, which is sent from the remote host to the server. Agree? Data will be connection request, which is being sent from the remote host to the server. Okay, so from this data, what can we obtain? We can obtain only IP address, we can say. Agree? So we can get the IP address of the source and your destination, from where that particular connection request is being sent, and what is the destination of it. Make sense? That will be your data. From this data, what we can do, we can obtain only IP address and source and destination, but no contextual information is there. So once we process it, while processing this data, what contextual information we got is that multiple connection requests are being received by the server. Multiple connection requests are being received by the server, okay, within a short time span. So once I process this, I got the info or information that multiple requests are received by the server within short time span. Okay, so what is happening now? Your server is getting stressed and its performance is gradually getting reduced. Okay, so through this we can obtain the intelligence by analyzing this particular information and considering the past and the current experiences. What can we include, or sorry, what can we conclude out of it? What might be happening, or what kind of an attack is going on? The DDoS one, exactly. Multiple requests, we can say, yeah, maybe from different location. If you're getting the IP as in source, so then we can perform, or we can say it's DOS or DDoS, right? If you're taking multiple requests are being sent from different location, then it will be DDoS. You got my point, right? Distributed denial of service from different geographical region. If you are getting the request, that will be your DDoS attack, right? We can conclude we obtain that intelligence by analyzing this particular information and looking at our past and current experiences. We concluded that the DDoS attack is being performed on the target server. Now, using this intelligence, guys, an organization can do what? They can immediately protect their IT assets from such attacks, and they can plan for the, you can say, uh, mitigations for it, and they can try to, handle that kind of a DOS attack which is being performed. Got an idea? What is data, information, and intelligence? So when we're talking about threat intel, right, or these cyber threat intelligence, which are quite helpful, right? So what are the importance, or you can say the benefits of cyber threat intelligence? Here are a couple of them. It does what? It provides you the greater insight into cyber threats, preventing data loss by identifying the causes of data leakage, guiding an incident response, conducting data analysis to identify the exploitable data, providing actionable strategic and tactical choices, conducting threat analysis for detecting advanced threats. Uh, if you want to include, we can include, like, we can share the threat intel to spread the awareness, right? It can help you to identify or discover the TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures of the, for the any possible attacks. It helps you to identify IOCs, which you're talking about, right? Indicator of compromises or indicator of compromise, correct? It can be helpful in order to make more proactive defensive measures, isn't it? Can help you for the faster detection, right? It will be prioritizing the IOCs, and which can lead up to provide you the faster detection and any escalation of potential events over there, right? It can be helpful in terms of reducing your incident response time by providing you some context or regarding any security incident which has been identified, right? Using threat intelligence, right? So incident response, uh, forensic teams can also take an advantage of that to quickly recover from damage which is caused by the attacks, isn't it? And prevent any evolving attacks over there. Just take an example of ChatGPT just to compare it. ChatGPT also takes an human's input, right? But if the source of ChatGPT is wrong, which we have seen many other AIs are failing, right? Google's once failed, isn't it? Or Microsoft once, yeah. So AIs are being failed, right? So in case if their source is not good, so obviously they'll be giving the wrong output, right? So that's why things needs to be processed properly, right? So these are a couple of things which can be uh, beneficial with the help of your threat intelligence. When we talk about in terms of types of threat intelligence, there are four types of threat intelligence. Can anyone name them? So when you're talking about types of threat intelligence, here are the four ones: strategic, tactical, operational, and technical, guys. When we talk about strategic, it's for longer term and high level information, as in you don't have to look out for the things from a you know um, ground level, something like that. Like it's something which is a management perspective, we can say. So when you're looking at the organization from 50,000 feet rather than looking organization from the 10,000 feet. Okay, so high level information and long term use it is. So strategic is there, which is high level information on changing risk consumed by high level executives and your management. Okay, so strategic, when you talk about, they provide you the high level information regarding cybersecurity posture, the threats, and its impacts on the business. Okay, so it is consumed by your, as mentioned, high level executives and management of the organization. Okay, so it can be collected from sources like your open source intelligence, we can say any CTIA vendor, threat intel vendors, right? Regarding from these places. So it is generally in the form of a report that mainly focus on high level business strategies, okay, and which is used by the management to take some strategic business decisions and to analyze the effect of those decisions. That's what your strategic is there. Okay, then if you talk about your tactical, okay, tactical threat intelligence provides the information related to your TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures, okay, which is used by the attackers, okay, in order to perform an attack. So tactical threat intelligence, these are the key points basically. Provides the information which are related to the TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures used by the threat actors or these attackers in order to perform the attacks. So it's a long-term use, but a low level. TTP is a low-level information, you can say. So it is consumed by your cybersecurity professionals, you can say. Okay, like your IT service managers, your SOC managers, your administrators, from these. So you can say, they collect, or you can say the collection sources for these tactical threat intelligence can be like from campaign reports, from any malwares which has been studied, right? Any incident report, right? Human intelligence, or attack group reports. So these are the sources for it, you can say. Okay, so it is generated in the form of a forensic report that will be including highly technical information, like regarding a malware, regarding a campaign, the techniques and the tools which has been used, these kind of information. Okay, so basically it will be helping the cybersecurity professionals to understand how the adversaries or these attackers, they are expected to perform the attack on the organization, and what are their technical capabilities, what are their goals, all these information. That's in your tactical. And when we talk about operational, which is for the short term immediate use or a high level information over there. So for a short term use, basically, it won't see in a longer picture. So immediate use based intelligence. So operation threat intelligence, they provide information basically about any specific threats which is against the organization. So which is consumed by your security managers or your head of your incident response or your network defenders or your forensics, or for fraud detection team, these people. Okay, so where are they collected? They are collected from any humans or any hacker chat rooms or social medias. This is how, from where they are collected. That's why it is written high level, right? So it is generally in the form of a report that will be containing your identified malicious activities, what will be the recommended course of actions, and any warning of any emerging attacks. So basically, it will be helping your organization to understand the possible threat actors along with their intention, their capability, and their opportunity to attack. Uh, you know, uh, what all vulnerable IT assets are there, and what will be the impact of that attack if it is successful, right? So this is regarding that. So it will be helping your incident response and your forensic teams in order to deploy the security assets, which will be aiming to identify and stop any upcoming attacks, which will be improving the capability of detecting the attacks at an early stage, and which will be there in order to reduce the damage on its IT assets as well. That will be regarding operational. And if you talk about technical, so technical threat intelligence, they provide information about the attackers' resources, like their command and control channels, CNC we call it, right? CNC. So their command and control channels, the tools which is used to perform the attack, right? So it is generally consumed by your SOC staff and your incident response team. So it is a shorter lifespan, right? As compared to your tactical, if you talk about your technical is shorter lifespan, right? It mainly focus on a specific IOC, indicator of compromise, right? So the indicators of technical threat intelligence, they are collected from any active campaigns or attacks that are performed on another organization, or any data feed which is provided by a third party, external third parties. From there, these places we can get these things. Okay, so in case if these technical threat intelligence, they'll be including specific IP address, the domain names which is used by any malicious endpoint, right? Or any phishing email header, any hash, the checksum of malwares. These kind of things are an example of your technical threat intelligence. Okay, so basically, it will be improvising. It will be helping you to improve your detection mechanism, by adding those IOCs, indicators of compromise, right? Or by identifying these indicators, uh, you know, uh, uh, we can say yes, we can add these indicators in our defensive systems like your IDS, IPS firewalls, and yeah, it will be performing well for us. It will be helping us to improve the detection mechanism over there. So that's how your technical is used. Now, if you talk about the last thing, which is how it is useful to the organization, how this threat intel is useful to the organization. It is useful, in terms of identifying and protecting, detecting, responding, and for recovery as well, right? very innovative TTPs are being used by the threat actors, right? And they are these cyber threats, as we know, landscape is pretty much changing, isn't it? And every now and then we are hearing about the attacks, right? Cybersecurity has, you can say, is quite on a demand and quite on a news as well, isn't it? So it was like also mentioned like post pandemic, the number of attacks has been doubled as compared to the number of attacks which has been happened in the past 5 to 10 years. So threat landscape, the type of attacks, they are getting advanced and advanced, right? Uh, and it's kind of a challenge nowadays, right? So, as I mentioned, with these innovative TTPs which are used by the attackers, our cyber threats, they are becoming a major risk to any business sector, basically, right? So, in order to thwart or to be resilient to these attacks or these threats, it is important for the organization to incorporate and I would say leverage the actionable threat intelligence so that they can strengthen their current security posture, basically, right? Because this is what the future is there. So as I mentioned, these areas of are there in which it is useful to the organization. Everything will be boiled down to these areas only. So identify and protect will be there, right? So you'll be monitoring of internal and external threats, revealing any unknown threats and vulnerabilities that might be, having a potential risk to the organization. Correct. So threat intelligence, they can help you in adapting the current security strategy to the attackers TTPs in order to be resilient or thwart those evolving threats, right? It helps you to be prepared, uh, you know, so prepared assessments will be there, help the organization to evaluate their capability in order to, leverage the threat intelligence or how to operationalize it, isn't it? So this it will be helpful in terms of, you can say, early detection of the threats, correct? So they'll be providing you an early warning about potential cyber threats. They'll be helping in terms of analyzing and monitoring data from various sources, including a dark web, any forums, social media platforms, any other online communities, so organization, they can detect and identify potential threats from there and the vulnerabilities before they can cause any damage to the organization itself, right? So in that way, so identify and protect will be there, right? In this, I would say, awareness of threats and vulnerabilities will be there, thwarting the attacks, these preparing with assessment so that we can be resilient to these attacks in advance, proactive approaches, these things. If we talk about detect, so real-time threat monitoring will be there, and intelligence will be helping organizations to detect attacks more rapidly and efficiently, synchronizing this threat intelligence into your SOC against some solutions can be a better solution, right? So the intelligence, they'll be helping the analysts to discover and focus on attacks at an early stage and reduces any irrelevant, alerts. So it can be helpful as you were asking, right? For false positive. With the help of it, we can reduce the false positive also. But the sources, terms and conditions, like sources should be the correct one, doesn't it? So reliable should be there, right? Reliable intelligence feed should be there, which will be providing you this indicator of threats that will be helping the organization to uncover any ongoing hidden, intrusions. Respond, if you talk about, yes, so threat intelligence, they provide some contextual information about the attacks, which will be including their IOCs, TTPs, right? Which will be helping organization to prevent any propagation of the attack, which will be reducing the impact which has been caused by that particular attack, right? It will be helping you to reduce the duration of the attack and help you to provide the appropriate mitigation. So in case if I got a IOC, right, regarding a malware which has already been identified, incident response team is there handling that particular malware incident. I got an IOC related to that. Now what can be done? I can, search for that particular IOCs in the entire systems of the organization, which will help us to cut down our efforts, and it will help you to reduce down the impact of that particular malware so that it won't spread out into more other systems, right? So will be very helpful in terms of detecting them, or in terms of responding and cutting down the impact of it, of that particular malware. So in that way, it's quite helpful in terms of respond also, right? Recover. So threat intelligence, they will be detecting and removing any, persistent mechanism, weakness of threat actors, like, their malicious files which are installed on the systems, which will be leading to rapid and efficient recovery from attacks. You can incorporate threat intelligence, which will be helping organization to meet the compliance requirements, right? So threat intelligence, by prioritizing your security investment, it helps you in, enhancing your existing security posture, your security mechanism also. So in these ways, these four is where your organization can, threat intelligence can be useful for the organization. So with the help of it, you can go with the effective mitigation strategies, as I mentioned, right? So they will provide you the valuable information about TTPs, which is used by the attackers, and these information they can be used to develop effective mitigation strategies, which can be helpful to prevent cyber attacks, right? So, like as I mentioned, if a particular type of malware is identified, organization can develop security controls to block it or to detect it and respond to it before it causes any further damage, right? So, proactive response to threats can also be there. Just to add on, a detection of threats, effective mitigation strategies regarding TTPs, right? Proactive responses. So that intelligence, they can help organization to develop proactive response strategy. So by monitoring and analyzing threat data, organization they can identify any potential targets and develop response plans so that they can mitigate the impact of a cyber attack. So, for example, if an organization detects a potential DDoS attack, it can prepare to, redirect the traffic or temporarily shut down the services to prevent the attack from causing significant damage over there, right? And yeah, prioritizing of security resources can also be included. There are some additional points which are just popping up in my mind. So threat intel, they can be helpful for organization to prioritize their security resources. They can identify the most critical threats and vulnerabilities. Organization they can allocate their resources more effectively to address the most significant risk to them. So if any particular type of attack is more likely to cause damage to an organization, so organization they can prioritize their efforts to prevent or mitigate that type of attack. So maybe a financial based organization is there, and you might see, okay, this kind of an attack on new malware is there which is targeting specifically the financial based organization. So we can uh, prioritize and we can provide the security controls in respect to that, right? And respond I have already included, uh, you know in terms of instant response basis. So respond as in improving your instant response, isn't it? So threat intelligence, they can help organization to improve their instant response capabilities by providing some real-time information about threats and vulnerabilities. So organization they can respond more quickly and more effectively to cyber attacks, right? So in case, as I mentioned, a new type of malware is detected, organization they can quickly develop and deploy a response plan in order to mitigate the threat right away. That way, your response can be also be used.